from time to time, I have been accused of being a wise person. My reaction usually is a combination of both flattery and bewilderment. I've always imagined that if one was lucky, with age would come wisdom. But as I've gotten older, with the mistakes and misjudgments I continue to make, I keep asking myself, when will you learn? When will you wise up? And when will I learn how to make this work? 1 second. And sadly, I also don't have to look very far to find people of mature age who more often than not act as if life's wisdom has eluded them, as they act out in ways more suited to a self-absorbed teenager. Nevertheless, I steadfastly continue my pursuit of wisdom or knowledge in my dogged quest for the meaning of life, which in itself could be a sign of lack of wisdom, especially if the answer is to be found in the living rather than in the pursuit. Does that make sense to you? We can sometimes miss out on things because we're just endlessly pursuing it rather than just doing it. Anyway, that's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, today I'm going to share some stories, folk tales, if you will, that illuminate the search for wisdom and then see if we're any wiser for having done so. And by the way, you have to make that determination, not me. Because really, what do I know that you don't already know? So put on your listening thinking caps. One of my favorite words that I think does not get enough respect in the world or today is intuit. Not the phrase intuit as in, man, he's really getting into it, but the word intuit as in intuition, which is defined by dictionary.com as a direct perception of truth, fact, etc., independent of any reasoning process. It's like the immediate apprehension or immediate understanding of something without any additional information or proof. In other words, it's just the stuff we know we know. So how many of you believe in intuition, by the way? Okay, and how many of you trust your own intuition? Okay, that's the iffy part. Anyway, but I suspect most of you are smart and wise. So anyway, as you listen today, ask yourself, what does your intuition tell you about the truth or the wisdom in these stories? So let's begin with Paul's story from Colossians chapter 2, verses 2, 4, 6, and 7. And you can follow along in the bulletin. I want you woven into a tapestry of love, in touch with everything there is to know of God. Then you will have minds confident and at rest, focused on Christ, God's great mystery. All the richest treasures of wisdom and knowledge are embedded in that mystery and nowhere else. And we've been shown the mystery. I'm telling you this because I don't want anyone leading you off on some wild goose chase after other so-called mysteries or the secret. You guys familiar with the secret? My counsel for you is simple and straightforward. Just go ahead with what you've been given. You've received Jesus Christ, the Master. Now live Him. You're deeply rooted in Him. You're well constructed upon Him. You know your way around the faith. Now do what you've been taught. School's out. Quit studying the subject and start living it. And let your living spill over into thanksgiving. So it is written in the Holy Bible. May we be blessed to find meaning and understanding in these words. So, again, I'd like you to consider, what does your intuition, not mine, tell you about that story? The next story comes from a book called The Annotated African American Folktales that's edited by Henry Louis Gates Jr. and Maria Tatar. The story is called How Wisdom Came into the World, and it was adapted from William Henry Barker and Cecilia Sinclair. And it goes like this. There once lived a man named Father Anansi. He possessed all the wisdom in the world. People came to him daily for advice and help. One day, the men of the country made the mistake of offending Father Anansi, who immediately decided to punish them. After much thought, he believed that the most severe punishment he could inflict would be to hide all his wisdom from them. So he set to work at once to gather everything he had already given. Once he succeeded, as he thought, in collecting it, he placed all of it in a great pot and sealed it carefully. He was determined to put it in a spot where no human being could reach it. Now, Father Anansi had a son named Kwiku Sin. This boy began to suspect his father of some secret plan, and he made up his mind to watch him carefully. Next day, he saw his father quietly slip out of the house with his precious pot hung around his neck. Kwiku Sin followed. Father Anansi went through the forest until he left the village far behind. Then, selecting the tallest and most remote tree, he began climbing it. The heavy pot hanging out in front of him made his ascent almost impossible. Again and again, he tried to reach the top of the tree where he planned to hang the pot. There, he thought, wisdom would indeed be beyond the reach of everyone but himself. But he was unable to carry out his wish. Each time he tried, the pot was in the way. For some time, Kwiku Sin watched his father's hopeless attempts to climb the tree. At last, unable to contain himself any longer, he called out, "Father, why don't you hang the pot across your back? Then you can easily climb the tree." Father Anansi turned and said, "I thought I had all the world's wisdom in this pot, but now I see that you possess more than I do. All my wisdom was inadequate to show me what to do, yet you have been able to tell me." He was so angry that he threw the pot down to the ground. It struck a great rock and broke into pieces. The wisdom contained in it escaped and spread throughout the world. What does your intuition tell you about that story, the truth of that story? This is the next story. 2 weeks ago, yesterday in fact, my friend Candace Rami passed away. She died suddenly and unexpectedly in a hospital while being treated for an as of yet undisclosed illness. She was 35 years old and the mother of 4 beautiful young girls. 3 of the girls were fathered by her first husband, and her second husband, my friend Eunice, is the father of their youngest child, Amira, who is 19 months old. Eunice is from Morocco, and he and I have been friends for several years now. When I first met Eunice, he was a graduate student at Arcadia University. He had come here from Morocco on a student visa and initially lived with his uncle in Ambler. Unfortunately, after a year of study, Eunice wasn't able to complete his program of study because the tuition was too high. So he dropped out of school so that he could work to earn money to complete the program. When he dropped out of school, Arcadia was obligated to report that he wasn't enrolled. Subsequently, he was visited by Homeland Security officers, and because of racial profiling, he later found out, he was illegally arrested and subjected to electronic monitoring. Now, Eunice is Muslim. Eunice was not trying to avoid authorities or do anything illegal. He just wanted to work to earn money to continue his education. His immigration attorney was able to prove that he had been illegally arrested, and after he continued to comply with all the necessary directives, the electronic monitoring was eliminated, and Eunice was permitted to stay in the country, work, and pursue legal status. In the meantime, Eunice eventually met Candace, who was a manager at one of his jobs. They fell in love. She later converted to Islam. They had a baby, and last spring they were married. Cue the violins for a happy ending, right? Well, that happy ending didn't occur, but there's more to this story. Though they struggled financially, Eunice and Candy were hardworking and resourceful in taking care of their family and making sure the girls had what they need for home and school. Unfortunately, when Candace passed away, they didn't have insurance, and her family wasn't able to help with funeral arrangements. Additionally, a conflict arose between Eunice and Candace's family because she had converted to Islam. Her family wanted to have a more traditional Christian funeral, and Eunice wanted to follow Candace's wishes to have a Muslim service. Eunice was at a loss for what to do. But he said, I'm just going to rely on my faith and belief in Allah. So was this a wise decision? Some of Candace's family members started a GoFundMe account to raise money for the funeral. In the meantime, however, one of Candace's and Eunice's Muslim friends, Amir, rallied the Muslim community in Allentown and told Eunice not to worry about anything because they were going to take care of everything. And that's exactly what they did. Numerous people that Eunice didn't even know made enough donations to pay for the complete funeral, including preparation of the body, the service at the mosque, and even the cemetery plot. And if that wasn't enough, they collected enough money for Eunice to pay his immigration attorney to complete the process for obtaining his green card. Now, I had never attended a Muslim funeral service before and was amazed at the number of people who came to the mosque to support Eunice, even though they didn't personally know him. They took care of his daughter during the service, and then they went to the gravesite where many of the men, including me, took turns shoveling the earth to cover his wife's body. Now, there's a little addendum to this story. Eunice, they had 4 kids, 3 by the previous husband, their first husband, and 1 by Eunice. In the midst of all of this, they wanted to figure out a way that all the girls could stay together. So her first husband reached out to Eunice and really, literally begged him to move in with them so that all the girls can stay together. So that's what they decided to do, and so they're going to live together temporarily, and then in the meantime, there's a house right next door to where the girls are living with their biological dad. They're fixing that house up so that Eunice and Amira can live in that house so they can all stay together. So, these are 3 wisdom stories. The first, Paul's story, calls us into a woven tapestry of love focused on Christ, where all the richest treasures of wisdom and knowledge are embedded in that mystery and nowhere else. Where does Christ reside? What does your intuition tell you? The second story finds wisdom in the pragmatic behavior of an innocent young child. What does your intuition tell you about that story? Where does wisdom lie? Story number 3, a somewhat Romeo and Juliet tale, and the story of a much maligned community acting in a very Christian way. What does your intuition tell you about that story? Are we looking for wisdom or living on wisdom? What does your intuition tell you about these stories? May we be blessed to find meaning, understanding, and grace in these words. Amen. So